Jesse, and I understand why it's done. You laid it out well with the injury history, with a number of pitches he's thrown in a year over his career. But what I want to know is people seem to put just random barriers, oh, now we can't go past this pitch total for no reason, or if a guy's going well every 5 or 6 days. Should you shut someone down? If he's not feeling any soreness, if he's getting stronger as the year is, which he appears to do, there's also a development happening here where the player is pitching and coming through. I think we're too far on the other side of this where we're careful too much with our athletes these days and really put random barriers on them for no reason.
This should be the Cade Horton appreciation report. It really should be. We're going to get to him in a second, but starting with him in some ways, because let's turn the page on the trade deadline. We've all crapped on it, right?
Yeah.
So look, it is what it is. Kittredge pitched well today. He was an addition. This is who they have. We're just going to analyze it the rest of the way. We've criticized that deadline. What I'm getting at is let's praise something here. I can guarantee you, because I know for a fact, and you guys know this, Cade Horton was asked about throughout the last 3 trade deadlines, including this one. The Cubs didn't move Cade Horton, and now look what he's turned into. So, that's the argument against trading your prospects, because sometimes they do come through and become controllable, cheaper pitchers. Now, hopefully they spend money elsewhere if they're going to have a guy like Horton doing what he's doing at the minimum. But today, I know you guys were on the air, was quite something. 5 2/3 innings, because they're limiting him 67 pitches to get through 5 2/3. That's pretty darn good. But here's the key stat: 56 strikes on 67 pitches. That is insane for anyone, let alone a rookie now who has thrown 23 1/3 scoreless innings, the longest by a rookie Cub since 1912. The longest by any rookie in the league since 2016, Michael Fulmer. So he's approaching territory that we haven't seen in a decade as a young guy and someone that is so needed in this moment where there's about 3 different things going on shaky on this team, like the offense, the other starting pitchers, some guys in the bullpen. Here comes Cade Horton. So that's a trade they never made, and he's coming through for them.
I have a Horton question for you, but before that, Jess, I have to ask you, what are your research? What are your sources telling you about the potential for this entire Reds team being out late at night last night celebrating the first 2 wins of the series?
Well,
they look like a dead team walking today.
Yeah, well, that's partly because of Horton, but the funny thing is the Reds and the Cubs, I tweeted this out, are the only 2 teams not to get swept in a 3-game series or more. And so the Reds had a chance to be the only team that could say that, but of course they couldn't get it done. Look, they won 2 on the road. I think they're a little limited offensively. They can pitch. I just think they're going to come up short, Tommy. I think their over-under was 81. Was it you telling me yesterday you took the over?
Carmen took the over at 80, I think.
Yeah, okay. So they're going to get over 80. But I think they're just going to miss the postseason, which has kind of happened to them a couple times over the last few years. They're good. They're just not Cub good or Milwaukee good. You know what I mean? They're just on the outside of being one of those elite teams in the NL, in my opinion.
Jess, when we're back to Horton, we had this discussion earlier. And, look, I understand the concept of, hey, you know what? We've got to now start asking our pitchers to go as, deeper into games than normal. But if they're not trained to do that and they're not conditioned to do that and they're not being asked to do that, then I don't know. What's the solution here? And how many innings? He's at 79 in change, I think, now. 79 1/3 if this last game has been updated. Regardless, he's close to 80. Where is that kind of magic innings number for him, knowing that he hasn't had a full season in the bigs?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a career high, and it's approaching what he did in the minor leagues as well. Or, college is the last time he threw 88 innings. Or, I'm sorry, maybe single A 2023, right after college. He threw 88 innings. So he's approaching that figure, right? Obviously, if this was going to be a 6-month season, they'd be a little less concerned. But this, as Tyler has talked about, could be an important player in October.
Of course.
Like, he is probably a Game 3 pitcher if some reason he's in the bullpen. He's a key guy out of the bullpen. So I think they're thinking 7 months, not just 6. So, look, he's going to go past his career high, which was achieved several years ago. If not for the injury last year, it wouldn't be as big a concern. So it's not just like you're building up year after year. It's just that he missed so much time last year, and it's hard to make the leap. What was it, 34 total innings last year, 34. He's approaching, like you said, 80, and then the career high of 88. So it makes sense to me. It sucks that it has to go this way, but when you are coming off an injured year, it is hard to make the leap, and they certainly think this guy's part of their future.
Do you guys realize this was the fewest number of pitches he threw all season long, 67?
Incredible.
This was the start where he threw the fewest. And the last start he made against Baltimore, he threw 71. That was the previous least amount of pitches.
But there's nothing been excessive. What's his high?
He's had 84, 86, 94, 90, 80, 90, 76, 85, 77, 83, 92, 79, 77.
See, like, Jesse, and like, I understand why it's done. I mean, like, you laid it out well with the injury history, with a number of pitches he's thrown in a year over his career. But like, what I want to know is, like, people seem to put like just random barriers, like, oh, now he can't go past this pitch total for no reason, or like, if a guy's going well every 5 or 6 days, should you shut someone down? If he's not feeling any soreness, if he's getting stronger as the year is, which he appears to do, there's also like a development happening here where the player is pitching and coming through. I think we're too far on the other side of this where we're careful too much with our athletes these days, and really put random barriers on them for no reason.
Well, let me say this. You could be right, because you talk to anybody in baseball, they still don't have it figured out. It's an inexact science. Mm-hmm. But I think, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, when there's a leap in innings like this, there is some history of concern that plays out. But I don't necessarily disagree with you. I asked Counsell this before the game, and he's not putting a number on it. He's going by feel. This is the one area where managers are still going to go by feel, but with the understanding he's not going to go to 100 pitches in August and September and October. Well, maybe he will in October, because when you need him the most, and he even mentioned that today, like, he knows they're saving him and he's saving himself for it. So, yeah, it's inexact, Silvy, but it's working so far. I mean, if he keeps putting up zeros, then you know, like, usually you have a nice, decent lead. Like, you can afford to pull him a little early. It's when the Cubs aren't scoring. They did today, but they haven't been recently, is when you worry about it. Like, in a 0-0 game, can we pull Cade Horton? But right now they're doing it. Let's hear from Cade Horton. By the way, this just came in from my staff people. His 83% strike rate is the highest by any pitcher in a game this season.
Wow. That's impressive.
Any pitcher. Now, obviously, you have to throw, minimum 50 pitches. By any starter, 83% strike rate was the highest. So what's interesting is Cade understands that he's limited, and it may even be like helping him while he's on the mound, knowing his day isn't going to go that long. Here's Cade Horton.
Yeah, for sure. I think I learned a little bit in the minor leagues, just having, like a 5 and 75. It just kind of teaches me how to be efficient. It's not really something I have in the back of my head, but just going out there and attacking, really. And like I said, being fearless in the strike zone.
It's kind of similar to what I heard Garrett Crochet say at times last year. You're limited. You just may as well go after him, right? I mean, you should anyway, but this really plants that seed. I need to throw strikes because I don't want to go 4 innings, throw 78 pitches and be pulled. 5 2/3 is a good amount. So all coming together for Cade Horton this season.
Jess, what are they saying inside the clubhouse about the struggles of PCA recently?
Yeah, I mean, there's been more conversation about Tucker than PCA. I mean, PCA is a rookie going through something, and the biggest thing I think is he's looked lost against lefties more than anything. There's moments where he's looked lost against righties as well, but the lefties are really making him look silly. So that's something he has to work on. Not unusual for a young player. So that's kind of like he's a young player. We expect this. I think he'll come out of it, sort of thing. The bigger conversation has been about Tucker, who's simply missing good pitches to hit. I mean, either swinging through them or fouling them off. He's hitting more grounders than fly balls. There's a lot of things that point to potential injury or bad habits from an injury, and that's something that Jed Hoyer brought up yesterday. But Tucker refuses to go there. He refuses to talk about his hand or what's impacted his swing. Counsel think it's coming around the corner. I actually tend to agree. He's taking his walks. He's not chasing, and he's fouling off good pitches, sometimes missing them, though. So I think it's coming with Tucker. I don't know exactly the moment where PCA is going to break out of it. There's less signs of that because there's so much swing and miss in his game, Tommy. So I haven't really dug into PCA as much as Tucker, but mostly I see PCA just struggling against left-handed pitching, and they faced a bunch of lefties lately.
Well, with a lot of guys struggling and say I look good today, but and like Hap's been up and down, and a lot of these Dansby we know are we like at a point right now where the Cubs don't even have a real lineup? Like it's just kind of how things are going, and like for instance today Justin Turner was the number 2 or 3 hitter.
He had second.
He had second. That's what the Friedel text. Like so, and then like they put Tucker down to 3, and they've mixed up the leadoff hitter recently. So are they at a point right now, Jesse, where the Cubs don't even really have a lineup?
I think it's a great point. I do. And Counsell has kind of talked about that, not saying it in those many words, but that he is searching a little bit, especially lefty on the mound, it looks different. Righty on the mound, it looks different. Now, with the addition of Willie Castro, he has started now 5 straight games, and he's moved around, giving guys that are struggling a day off or guys that just, they want to get them off their feet. So that's going to impact the lineup as well. But I think your point's well taken. He's searching for something that's going to stick here down the stretch. Once Willie goes back to the bench, what does that lineup look like? Will Hap eventually get back up there? I don't think Counsell has those answers because he's in the middle of searching for one.
Was today your first witnessing of an immaculate inning?
It was, yes. I was thinking about that, and it is one thing that Counsell kind of talked extensively about this before and after the game, like the life of a reliever. I actually was in the stands with our buddy Seafood Dennis last night when
nice.
Kittredge got pulled. So it's a little different in the press box. You hear everything, but in the stands you feel it. And he really did get booed.
He did, yes. I was surprised how hard he got booed.
Yeah, he really did get booed. New guy. He gave it up, no doubt about it. He really did get booed. And here he is less than 24 hours later, day game after night game, and he pitches that immaculate inning. And Counsell's like, that's the life of a reliever. And the sooner they get used to it, the better. And he said something before the game that's kind of obvious. And you have to maybe trick yourself as an athlete. Tommy, you tell me. That I thought was actually interesting. He's like, this is what I tell young players. They're not booing you. They're booing the result. Try not to take it personally. Yeah. And there's truth in that, but very difficult to accept. And I think, Kittredge took that to heart. Like, I don't know if he said it to Kittredge last night, but here he comes out. And again, it's funny how things connect to each other. Kittredge says, because of last night, I was outside the zone, eventually had to throw this meatball for a home run. Today I concentrated on throwing strikes, and what does he do? 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts. And if you didn't see my tweet, it was the same sequence: sinker, sinker, slider, sinker, sinker, slider, sinker, sinker, slider. All 3 strikeouts were swinging. So just great symmetry there, and he rebounded well.
And the immaculate, for those who don't know, the immaculate inning is the 9-pitch inning where you get a strike on every, right? You strike 3 guys out, and there's no foul balls, there's no balls, and it's 9 pitches and you're done.
No balls.
Yeah,
being 51 years of age and having 30 years of experience probably allows him to separate the 2 performances. But you're right, Jess.
I heard you saying that yesterday. He does look like he's about 50.
Oh, my goodness. But you're right. Like, I think it's hard to differentiate between when you hear the boos, whether or not they're booing you or they're booing the outcome. It's factual what you say, but I think for the athlete, it's really hard to be able to differentiate between the 2.
Yeah, but I think relievers that have been around, this whole bullpen this whole bullpen's like 50 years old. It's one older guy after another. But they sort of, I asked him, like, when do you get used to it? And he kind of like, you never really do when you get booed, but you know how to rebound. That's what you get used to. The bad, the good, the bad, the good. That's the life of a reliever.
Jess, let me ask you a question. I think you mentioned this to me a little bit last night.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say it, and I'm not saying that it's even factual. But do you think that there was a little kind of a down vibe in the clubhouse after the trade deadline and there wasn't more added to the roster?
I think so. I haven't heard the whispers the way maybe you might in other moments. I interviewed Dansby. I mentioned this to you yesterday, Tommy, and I don't know. Look, they're all going to praise the additions. They're not going to say, but you can tell through body language and, if they added whoever, name the best player available. Like if they added that person, the rhetoric would have been over the top. Did you guys hear any over-the-top rhetoric from counsel or the players about the – no, they're fine. And actually, Kittredge and Taylor Rogers do fill a role. I mean, it's getting in the minutia. They throw sinker balls, which produce double plays. The Cubs had the lowest rate of any team since they started tracking it for sinker balls. They did not have a guy that could get the ball on the ground from the bullpen. And so they needed that. So they did fill roles, but they're not the biggest names out there. And I felt like there was a little bit of, okay, these are nice, but it's not like our GM showed us what he thinks of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like Dombrowski did or A.J. Preller does every July. So I think there was a little bit of a, okay, I guess it's on us to turn this thing around, back to it.
How do you feel about this? I wanted to present this to Big Cat today because he was the first one. And then I had, again, Friedel come after me on Friday over this because we were debating what the Cubs have and their staff. And Big Cat said last Friday that he doesn't believe Shota is a number 2 on a team competing for a championship. And I said he's absolutely a number 2 in the order. I've got stats, but just give me your thoughts. Do you believe Shota is a number 2 pitcher, not an ace, but a number 2 on a championship contending team?
My short answer is yes, but I do understand where Big Cat's coming from. I'd rather he be the 3, but yes, he is. He's proven that rising fastball, it can't be squared up. His split is sneaky enough, and now remember last year I was talking about, it's the first time through. He faced the first 17 starts against 17 different teams, something crazy like that. And I was always wondering what it was going to look like the second time through. Well, here we are in year 2. He's faced everybody, and it's still pretty darn good. I mean, he was great last night, and you sort of see it when you see the next guy come in and give it up. You know what I mean? That's how good Shota was when Kittredge can't get through 1 inning, and Shota's gone 7 1/3. And I think he struck out Ellie De La Cruz for his final out of the outing. So I think he's a 2. I'd rather he be a 3. That means you have a really good team. But I'm with you. Not a 1, but definitely a 2 on any of these contending.
And that was always the book on him when they got him from Japan, that he'd be like a middle-of-the-rotation guy. But here's what the stats say. So I just went with the simple stuff of ERA, a team's record, and their whip. And I sent it to Jacob Nitzberg. I go, hey, I want to know over the last 2 years, since he's been a pitcher in Major League Baseball, where does Shota rank in those 3 categories for starting pitchers? So we're not basing it against relievers where they don't go like starters. So there are 124 qualified starting pitchers over the last 2 years. Where do you think Shota ranks in ERA amongst all 124 starting pitchers over the last 2 years?
14th.
I was going to say 17th.
16th. Split the difference right there.
There you go.
Shota has an ERA of 2.98 over the last 2 years. That ranks 16th out of 124 starting pitchers. Where is he in whip? This is obviously walks, hits with innings pitched.
15th.
21st.
He's 11th in whip. He's got a 1.01 whip. Where is he in team record? This is not his pitching record. This is what the team does in his starts.
4th.
Yeah, it's really high. I would say that's a good number. I'll say 5.
Shota is first in team win-loss, 33-12 with a 733 win percentage. And Nitzberg adds, in fact, the Cubs' 733 win percentage in his starts is the best amongst all pitchers with 20 or more games started in the last 2 seasons. That's among 170 pitchers. I don't know how anyone can argue with the results of that and argue and say that he's not a 2. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not saying an ace. He's in the top 15 basically of all categories.
Yeah, none of that screams 3. I would agree with that. None of that screams 3. That actually, a lot of that screams 1. But you add the eye test and you say, okay, he's probably a 2.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You know, they've got 2 really good starters to start a playoff series, and maybe even a third. Who knows? But the bottom line is it's going to take that bullpen as well. It really, I mean,
Yeah, of course.
Horton's going to be shortened up, and there's going to be moments where Boyd isn't going to go 3 times through or whatever. So October's about bullpens. And I started the report by saying, let's turn the page on the deadline. But that's what I'll end it with. Like that's where I feel like he fell short. Maybe Kittredge will be the guy. Maybe Taylor Rogers will be. We don't know. But there were these huge name closers that moved, and I'd love to see them in the 8th inning, you know, and the Cubs just don't have that.